All right, let's dive into a story that's designed to really mess with your head in the best way possible. We're talking about a mind-bending parable about the nature of reality itself, one that might make you question everything you think is solid and real.
So let's just start with the biggest question there is. The world around you, the room you're in, the device you're watching this on, is any of it truly real? Or could it be something else entirely? And look, this isn't just some random thought to have at 3 a.m. It's a question that people have been wrestling with for centuries.
And one of the coolest ways this question has been explored is through an ancient parable. On the surface, it's a pretty simple setup. You've got a wise master, his eager student, and a task that seems to completely defy the laws of existence as we know them.
Okay, so picture this. We're in a monastery, and there's the spiritual master, a lama, and his young pupil. Now this student has been studying for years, right? But the lama decides it's time for the real lesson, the big one, the one that you can't learn from any book.
And then the master hits him with this absolutely staggering instruction. I mean, just think about that for a second. He's not telling him to imagine something. He's telling him to create it, to literally will a living, breathing being into existence using nothing but his own mind, and to make it so perfect that nobody could ever tell it wasn't real.
Now, the pupil is probably terrified, right? But he accepts the challenge. He goes off into total solitude because he knows this is going to be the ultimate test of his discipline, his focus, pretty much everything he's ever learned about the connection between our minds and the world around us.
And listen, this was no simple daydream. This was an almost superhuman process. First, he had to achieve this state of intense, unwavering concentration, blocking out literally everything else. Then, he had to build a complete, totally vivid picture of the being in his mind, down to the last eyelash. And then came the hardest part. He had to sustain that mental energy, day in and day out, until that thought solidified into actual physical form.
Days bleed into months, which turn into years. The student is pouring every single ounce of his energy into this one goal. And then, one day, it happens. He did it. He actually did the impossible. The being he had held in his mind for so long was now standing right in front of him. Real. Complete.
So of course, he proudly brings his creation to his master. But what happens next? This is the shocking part of the story. It's the moment the entire lesson hinges on, and honestly, it's a twist that at first seems to make absolutely no sense at all. And let's be perfectly clear about what the student achieved here. This wasn't some fuzzy ghost or a faint illusion. The being he created was, for all intents and purposes, alive. It could think for itself, it could hold a conversation, it could walk around. It was a true masterpiece.
After seeing this incredible achievement, the master, with just a simple gesture, dissolves the being. Poof! It just returns to the nothingness it came from. In a single instant, all those years of work, the student's greatest achievement, was just gone.
I mean, can you even imagine the shock, the anger? You'd be thinking, why? Why did I just spend years of my life on this only for you to erase it in a second? It seems unbelievably cruel, totally pointless. And that question, that feeling of why, that's exactly what we're supposed to be asking. What was the real lesson here? You see, the destruction wasn't an act of cruelty. It was the final part of the demonstration. The master was about to reveal the incredible truth that was hidden inside this whole process. A truth about, well, everything we call real.
So what the people created is known as an illusory form. You might have heard of a similar concept from Tibetan traditions called a tulpa. Basically, it's something that appears totally solid and independent, but in reality, its entire existence is being propped up by the mind that's projecting it. Take away the mind and it vanishes because it has no real substance of its own.
And this gets us right to the heart of the whole parable. It's showing us the difference between our everyday perceived reality and what you might call ultimate reality. You know, our senses tell us that the world is solid, it's separate from us, it's permanent. But the lesson here is that maybe, just maybe, ultimate reality is a lot more like that created being, a projection, always changing and fundamentally empty of that solid realness we think it has.
And here it is, the master's final, mind-blowing explanation. He says, you see, it was real, yet it was nothing. It was real enough to talk to, but it was also nothing because it had no independent substance. And then comes the big leap. He says the exact same thing is true for the mountains, the rivers, and even for us.
So all those years of training, they weren't about learning some cool magic trick. The whole point was for the pupil to experience for himself, in a way he can never forget,
that the line between his mind and the world, between illusion and reality, is way, way thinner than we think. He had to build something real from nothing, only to have that aha moment of realizing he's been living in a world of nothing all along.
So, where does that leave us? Well, this ancient story isn't just some old folk tale. It pops up in modern ideas all the time, from quantum physics hinting that the observer influences the outcome, to psychology showing us how our mindset literally creates our experience of life. And it leaves us with a pretty profound and powerful question. If the world is a projection, and our mind is the projector, what kind of reality will you choose to create today?